Hello everyone, my name is Dakoba and welcome back to Satisfactory. We are here in our starter factory, things are plugging away, and we have a lot to do today. Now I noticed something interesting in the patch notes, which has changed our priority a little bit. My goal today is to set up a basic steel factory, take a look at vehicles, and also play around with the dimensional depots. But in the patch notes, I noticed that they fixed the slide jump. So if we crouch and jump, we once again get a speed boost and a height boost. And the reason that has affected our priorities is because that is greatly amplified by blade runners, which are within the quartz research tree. So we need to find quartz straight away. Now, if we look at our map, we had identified a pure quartz node in a cave to the south. So let's pop on back down there and see if we can't gather enough quartz to get blade runners unlocked. It does look like the big spitter that was over here is still down, so that is just fine. All right, let's go ahead. Do we have what we need for a miner? We don't have a automated miner, so let's go ahead and portable miner. Let's go ahead and craft one of those up. For now, we can go ahead and set up a biomass burner to start generating some stuff for us. Unfortunately, we don't have any biomass, but we do have plenty of alien protein. And the last thing we're going to need is a MAM. We'll set that up. Take a look at quartz. Now we have 54 quartz on us that we found. That is enough for us to unlock the silica research, which will open up some new products in the awesome shop as well. Or the research for the blade runners requires silica as well as modular frames. Fortunately, we have a bunch of modular frames on us, but we'll craft up our quartz into silica and go ahead and take a look at that.
Blade runners unlocked. Equipped to run faster, jump with greater force, and decrease fall damage that might otherwise have lowered your value to fix it.
Alright, we have enough quartz now that we can go ahead and make up a pair of blade runners for us. Oh, I'm so excited. Look at that. Look at the distance on that jump. So if we jump from this ledge... Oh my gosh, look at that distance. That is wonderful. We have it. And now we have a stockpile of quartz coming in. Let's take a look at what else we can do in quartz real quick. We've got, with 200, we can get some additional inventory slots straight away with silica. And we can also take a look at the quartz crystals for the shatter rebar.
Pocket dimension now extra dimensionalized with additional dimensional capacity.
Oh my gosh, we can fly so far. It's amazing. I love it. All right, we go ahead and take a look at the quartz crystals.
Shatter rebar unlocked. These quartz-infused rebars fracture when fired, launching deadly debris in a wide spread. Fix-It does not condone the use of such violent methods, so make sure there are no witnesses.
All right. All right, let's grab some more quartz crystals. And pop on over here and make up some shatter rebar. Okay, so we hold R to pull up our ammo select menu. Swap in some shatter rebar. I'm going to test its range. Ah, here we go. Oh, that is so nice. Oh my gosh. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. That is what makes these things lovely. Is you scatter on those, the spread on them. And that. So we have a impure coal vein here, and I believe this one is a normal vein, a pure vein. So we have essentially two normal coal veins here. The problem is with using this for steel, which is one of our goals, is that there's no iron anywhere nearby. There, it finds the stuff back at base is the closest. And then stuff even further away, which I don't want to go. Purity temp. Interesting. So I don't even want to. I don't want to go that far afield if I can avoid it. So we're gonna probably hold off on tapping these coal veins for now. Let's see if we can get another. Oh, that's so nice. I love it. We're gonna have to practice our jump shots and making sure that we've got the correct distance on these. But I love the shatter rebar. let's go. Before we head back, let's pick up some more. Let's go grab the stockpiles of silica and raw quartz in case we want to play around with those more, make up some more shattered rebar, because we have worked our way through our little starter stockpile there very quickly. All right, I've gone ahead and gathered up the last the materials that are in place now, and we're going to go ahead and we're out of iron rods again. Darn it! No raw iron. There's no iron veins anywhere nearby, as we've discovered. That's quite a bummer. We'll have to. We'll probably just let that burn itself out of biomass then, and fix it once we are in a position to set up a full factory there. All right, we are on our way back to base, and it is time for us to take a look at another task. I think our next task is going to be to play around with the dimensional depot, because I am tired of running out of iron rods. Seems to happen in every other episode, and seems like something we should be able to fix. Now that we have a nice stockpile of Mercer spheres, we can get 3 or 4 of them going, so that we can get a wide variety of items and set up our first dimensional depot. Now this is going to be once again our temporary structure, but we can go ahead and set one up right. Set that as far back in as we can, really, because we don't actually need to access this directly. So it's okay if it's clipping a little bit. But what the dimensional depot will let us do is load items in that we can then withdraw from our inventory. So for example, if we put our Xenobasher in there, it will upload it into our stockpile. And then when we open our inventory, we have access to all the items in our dimensional depot. I believe right now we can upload up to a single stack of any item. Since Xenobashers don't stack, that's 1 of 1. But if we were to place, for example, our shatter rebar in there, that shatter rebar stacks to 100. So that will continue uploading, and then whenever we are ready, we can simply pull that out. So that is the value of the dimensional depot. All right, now one of the things with this is that we do have to be careful about how we load it. We can set up a conveyor belt, which will load items in. However, we have to be careful with how we do that, because it is possible for the system to clog. Since it can hold only 1 stack of an item at a time, as soon as we try to load in 2 sets of Blade Runners, it'll load up 1, and then it'll say no space left in depot. And now we can't put anything in through this particular dimensional depot uploader. Pull that out, and then it'll start loading, and that will work fine. But we do have to be sort of mindful of how we load things in. So if we want to load items in, we can't do more than a single stack. So we can, for example, put in a stack of iron rods and a stack of copper sheets, a stack of each of our different construction materials, and over time these will all become available to us as sort of a natural extension of our inventory at the rate of 15 items per minute, which we can extend in our MAM by taking a look at the alien technology tree. So we can use some of the items to increase the speed at which we upload, or increase the number of stacks that we can have. However, those Mercer spheres are rare and valuable. They're how we create the dimensional uploaders. So what we may want to do is find items like concrete, which we're going to be using a ton of, and we want to not have to worry about carrying all that in our inventory, and set up a dedicated dimensional depot uploader on top of one of our concrete production facilities that only takes that up. I don't think I'm quite at that level yet. I think we are fine to just use this in this form for now. I'll go ahead and continue placing in a handful of items that we want to sort of have a nice stockpile of, that we don't want to run out of. But I think this is definitely something that we're going to have to play around with in the future, and we'll just let this upload at this speed for now. All right, now while that uploads, let's take a look at our next milestones. I think we have 2 that we want to unlock today, and that's vehicular transport and basic steel production. So let's go ahead and take a look at those. Looks like we're going to need to pick up some additional resources. So let's gather those up.
Milestone reached. Coal and iron can be combined in the foundry to start steel production. Project part number 2, the versatile framework, can only be created via automation, not at a crafting bench. Delivering these to the space elevator is essential if we are going to complete Phase 2 of Project Assembly and save the day. Fix-It and humanity is relying on you.
Alright, with our drop pod back, we can go ahead and send away our vehicular transport milestone.
Milestone reached. Tractors permit pioneers to move around the world in a manner similar to using legs, except with wheels and the rampant consumption of natural resources. They can also be automated to self-drive and deliver resources between truck stations, which in turn facilitate automation of loading, unloading, and refueling.
Alright, let's take a look at what we've unlocked. Alright, now that we have those unlocked, let's go ahead and take a look at what we've got. So with the steel milestone, we got the foundry, and the foundry allows us to produce steel ingots out of coal and iron ore. We can then send those steel ingots into the constructor to produce steel beams and steel pipes, and we've also unlocked a recipe in the assembler, which we don't have room to build right now. Go ahead and try those down and set up assembler here for the versatile framework, which is a space elevator part. So that is something to keep in mind. Now the vehicular transport has unlocked the tractor for us.
Tractors can use any type of fuel and have a self-driving feature, much like Pioneers, only more reliable. While driving, you can record a path to automate vehicle resource transportation. Unlike early self-driving vehicles, tractors will not spy on you. Your employee data is already fully subject to other means of surveillance.
Then we also have the truck station, which again we don't really have room for down here, so let's pop one down up here.
Fix-It reminds you to drive vehicles accurately through a truck station's dock area while recording a path. This ensures it will connect properly once everything is automated. The truck station can be set to load or unload, and can also refuel vehicles. Unlike some Pioneers, truck stations care about saving humanity.
So with those out of the way, it is time for us to take a look at our next factory, and that is going to be steel. Now, the problem with steel is that it requires both coal and iron, and I have done a fair bit of looking around. The only coal nearby are the two veins that we saw down near the quartz cave, and the veins up at the top of the waterfall near our coal power plant. The only iron veins nearby are the ones that we're already fully exploiting for other production lines, which means we're going to need to go further afield for these resources, or at least if we want to find them both in one place. Now, in terms of where we can find them both in one place, there is a location up here in the north, right there, right about there, where we can find both coal and iron in one location. And there's also a spot up in the northwest that I spotted while I was out exploring. I'm not sure why that hasn't been revealed on the map, but there is a location with both coal and iron up there as well. Now, however we decide to do it, we are going to have to work out logistics in some way. Both of those locations are at least a kilometer away. I don't want to have to run a kilometer of belts or trek a kilometer whenever I want to pick up some steel products. So we have two choices. We can either set up a logistics system that will bring the raw materials back to our base and expand our sort of factory complex and campus that we're constructing here, or we can build the factory on site and then set up the logistics network to bring the finished products back. However we decide to do it, though, we do need to set up a plan for that logistics line, and that's what the tractors and vehicle stations are for. That's what they're going to do for us. Now, with that in mind, we also need to start to plan out how we want to do logistics for the remainder of the game, or at least for the upcoming future. Now, I've left a path through our base, and that was actually done with the intention of running vehicle lines through here. I want the opportunity to use trucks and tractors in our base, but I want the majority of our logistics as we go into the later stages of the game to be done through trains. So we also need to have space for train lines, and that's what this stone bridge is going to be for. I think we're going to set up a double train line that moves across here, and then use this large platform behind the base for a large train station that will feed factories all around this area. All right, and so with that in mind, I think what we're going to do is go ahead and build our production facility on site somewhere around here. and we'll be bringing in the raw materials. While we scout out a path for our truck and a site for our factory, I do want to get started with some hard drive research in the MAM, because in particular, steel has a number of valuable alternate recipes that it unlocks. So we will go ahead and get that going. And then while that runs, we can go ahead and see what our options are for creating a path here. All right, let's head on up to our coal power plant and do a scan for iron from there, just to double check that I haven't missed a node anywhere nearby. And also to use that as a place for setting out, because wherever we go, we're going to want to bring some power lines, and so it makes sense to start from our power plant. All right, while we're on our way to the north, I do want to stop by our SAM research site and craft up some more SAM fluctuators, because those will allow us to set up multiple dimensional depot upload sites. And that may even include, for example, setting one up right here, feeding into it with a conveyor lift so that we always have access to our reanimated SAM. We don't have to keep coming back here whenever we want to access that. I think if we're going to be using the rebar, we definitely need to automate the production of it. So that may be something we want to do sooner rather than later as well. Be an effective way to take care of these alpha hogs. Oh. Right, we have another crash drop pod here. I didn't see this one before. Fortunately, we are right next to our power plant. Done and done.
Surface genetic sampling indicates this freighter may have come from a planet run by apes.
Yeah, okay, so it is right there. Got that marker highlighted. Let's head in that direction, and we'll keep an eye out for anything else that is useful to us, like another Mercer sphere. A nice find. Ah! Not mean to fall off that cliff just there. Thank goodness we have a parachute. That could have gone very, very badly. Okay. Alright, well, let's work our way down. Up a line down to going here right to the edge, and then down to there. Looks like we have our first hard drive research done, so let's pop down a MAM. Take a look at that. That one gives us the basic iron ingot. Allows us to use a foundry to turn limestone and iron ore into ingots, and the steeled frame lets us use steel pipes to make modular frames. Potentially useful, but we're going to keep looking, and we're going to hold those recipes along with our copper rotor and bolted iron plate in the bank, because none of them are game changers. None of them solve a problem we have right now. So by keeping them there, when we encounter a problem that they solve, we can simply pick that recipe, and otherwise it is removed from the pool of recipes, so we'll get a wider variety from our next hard drive. All right, so this is actually perfect because we have two normal nodes right here, and around the corner we have two more normal nodes. So that means that if we do need to expand power, we have a large body of water right here with these two nodes, but we can pull 120 coal and 120 iron without overclocking our miners and ship that stuff back on home. So let's go ahead and head back to base, gather up some resources. Okay, so this may actually work out. This site looks like a perfect place for a factory. We've got additional access to limestone on site if we want it. Some space to build. Looks like the planned path I had for the train line through here come through here. And that means that over here we can use this space for building our steel factory. If we need it, we can even build up here near this limestone vein as well. or even down on those platforms. Let's go ahead and gather up some resources and get these factories built. All right, now while I gather up materials, I want to go through a couple of little changes. I decided to set up a dimensional depot hooked into our concrete production line so that we can simply keep a stack of concrete uploading at all times and make use of that. Make sure we always have plenty of concrete. Also, because concrete stacks to 500, a stack of it takes a lot longer to upload than with other items. But I also want to talk about the plan for our factory. Now, steel is produced from iron and coal at a 1-to-1 ratio, as we have a pure iron node, that's 120 iron, and 2 normal nodes, that's 120 steel. We can produce 120 steel ingots a minute, and that means we're going to need 3 foundries. So let's go ahead and add 3 foundries to our to-do list. And then we are also going to need to turn those items into beams and steel pipes. A single constructor can take 60 steel ingots to produce steel beams, and steel pipes are 30 a minute. If we're making 120, that means that we can divide this up into making 15 steel beams per minute, and then 40 steel pipes per minute. And so that is 3 constructors. And that should be all we need for the actual steel processing factory ourselves. However, since we're going to be working with truck stations, we need to include those, and we'll have at least 2 truck stations, as well as a tractor, and then the necessary things for some additional power lines, splitters, mergers, and things like that. All right, we also had another hard drive come in. Let's see what we got. Looks like we have the molded steel pipe and the copper alloy ingot. So this makes steel pipes significantly more efficiently. It does it in a foundry, which is interesting. And it does it out of concrete and steel ingots. So that allows us to take 1 steel pipe into, or 1 steel ingot into 1 steel pipe. If we set up a constructor, and look at the initial recipe, we get 30 to 20. So that's 50% more steel pipes out of our ingots. However, I don't think that is specifically what, I don't think that's particularly helpful for us, because that doesn't leave us with a nice ratio for steel beams. So we'll go ahead and leave that one and start on another hard drive while we continue to get ready here. I know I probably sound like a broken record, but the slide jump being back paired with the Blade Runners makes this game such an awesome, like, movement shooter feeling game. It is fantastic. Like, look at this distance that we can get. We can clear this gap and get over here to any of these other platforms. Say we want to swing over here, investigate this ledge. I see there's some hatchers down there. Hop on over here. Oh, looks like there's a blue power slug with a spitter guarding it. No problem. Just pop on up here. Take care of him. Maybe. Go. Oh, this is not where I wanted to go, but there is a summer sloop. We gotta get one. We're using up our last filter. We're out of filters. Mercer sphere, rather.
Our blood could fill the effigy veins for a resident song. Scripture becomes harmony, becomes composition. Defile our temple and the threads will sew the windows open.
Pattern analysis continuing. New instruction. Repeat pioneer exposure to alien artifacts. Brain damage compensation packages may be available on successful completion of a special claims form. Our expert Fix-It medical staff are impartial and always open to assess your claim.
All right, we are here, and it is time to build our supply depot for our steel factory. However, night is falling, and I don't like the way building looks at night when I do my external time lapses. So we are going to do a little bit more exploring while we wait for daylight. Cave down here. Not seen this one before. This is cool. This is is not a creepy game at all. See, the problem with going into a cave like this is if I died down in this hole, it's going to be a pain to get my stuff back. Alright, our next hard drive is just about done, so I want to do a little bit more research while we give that a chance to finish. I hear a critter. There it is. I don't want to see a critter right now. Sometimes these rocks don't conceal their items very well. I've seen some that you can sort of just place miners directly on top of the rocks because the rocks are blocking a node, but they're close enough to the node that you can just sort of ignore it. Alright, now I believe the alpha hogs can't mess with us if we're at altitude. Apparently they can, though. Lesson learned. The alpha hogs can hit you from anywhere. Okay, well. Let's go ahead and get a platform set up here. So I did not bring power lines all this way. So we'll set up a platform here. Or some biomass burners to get this hard drive. Did our research finish up, or do we still have a minute left? Yes, it did. Okay, so that one gives us steel rotor. And that is a very valuable recipe. The iron alloy ingot isn't bad either, but we have a new hard drive. And we will take a look at both of those at a later time, because we are not low on rotors right now. And we are also not low on iron right now. All right, it's time to build a factory. Let's get into it. All right, that is a basic steel foundry all complete. You can see that our tractor is successfully arriving on its trip to pick up some steel ingots. If we open it up, there we go. We can see that it's loaded up almost 2.5 stacks, which is about right. Um, and so this is working well. There is one last change we need to make to this, and that is that we are mining exactly enough coal to provide for our foundries, but since we also need to provide for the tractor, we do need to overclock this a bit, and we don't have any power shards on us. Let's go ahead and drop down a craft bench. Actually, let's fix the UI scale. I had shrunk that down for the purpose of recording, but we can fix that. So, and then go ahead and drop down a crafting bench and make up a power shard. Because we happen to have a blue power slug on. Drop one of those in, and I think overproducing this to 70 a minute, I'm sure is enough, but we can double check that. Make sure we're upgrading the Mark II belts out of there. When these were both doing 60, I used the Mark I belts to get them over to our Mark II lift there. And one of the neat things about using vehicles is that if you take a look at a truck station, you can see the ingoing and outgoing transfer rate. And the outgoing transfer rate here is incorrect. We're definitely getting more than 55 items a minute, but you can see how much fuel we're using a minute. So that tells us approximately how much we need to overclock. We can also name the station. This will be steel ingot 3. You may have also noticed that this isn't the design that we had talked about. We are drawing the 120 coal ore and the 120 iron ore and combining it into steel ingots here, but when I'd gone through the plan for this, I'd said I was going to move the raw materials and process them on site. I realized a flaw in that plan, and that's that we don't have a way to sort materials yet. That requires smart splitters, which we haven't unlocked yet. They're in the Caterium tree. So that's has sort of elevated that task to be a higher priority, but I don't think we're going to get to it today. And so for the meantime, I went ahead and just made it so that we only have to move one item. We have a single input line and a single output line because truck stations are not very smart in terms of what they load or unload. That's a feature of more advanced logistics with trains and drones, but not with vehicles. Let's pop over and take a look at the other end. All right, over here at the other end, we can see that we are unloading our steel ingots properly. Those are being sent into constructors and being processed into steel beams and steel pipes. We are starting to build up a nice little stockpile of both of those, so we have steel production well underway. Now these factories obviously need some cleanup work to do, but I think that might be something we have to save for our next episode, because there's quite a bit of work that needs to happen before that. I think it's time for us to start building proper factories with walls and roofs and ceilings and lights and things like that. And now that we've tapped some silica, we have the potential to actually do that. However, we aren't really utilizing that silica. We're created a small stockpile on a biomass burner. So that is something we are going to need to focus on. We are, however, starting to push close to our maximum production rate of power. So that is also a priority. Before we can expand our production in some of these other ways, we need to expand our power production. Now we could do this by simply, continuing to extend our power plants, or we could do a bigger build. I haven't quite decided how I want to approach that yet. We may do just some additional small temporary power plants to hold us over until we get all our decoratables unlocked in the production lines to support them, and then use those in the production of a larger and more interesting plant. But for now, I think this is where we are going to leave it for today. I'd like to thank you guys for spending a few minutes out of your day with me here in the world of Satisfactory. I hope you've enjoyed this episode. Leave a like if you have, and subscribe if you'd like to see more. My name is Dakoba, and I hope you have an efficient day. I'll see you soon.